The first time I saw Blackwood Mansion, I thought it was abandoned, a hulking structure perched on a hill outside Lexington. Victorian gables twisted toward the sky, windows like dark eyes, ivy crawling up the brickwork in thick, green veins. It wasn't the decay that made my stomach turn, it was the silence. Even the wind seemed afraid to pass through the surrounding trees. I had been called there by a friend, a local historian who claimed the place had stories the world shouldn't know. He never gave me details over the phone, only come, see for yourself, but stay aware, don't wander alone. I arrived late afternoon, the sun half hidden behind clouds. Gravel crunched under my tires as I approached the wrought iron gates, rusted at the hinges, swinging slightly with the wind. The front door was massive, carved oak with tarnished brass handles, a small placed red Blackwood estate, private. I pushed it open anyway. It groaned, protesting after years of neglect. Inside, the air smelled of damp wood, mold, and a faint metallic tang. Blood or iron-rich dust, I couldn't tell. The main hall was vast, a chandelier, broken and cobwebbed, hung over a polished marble floor scuffed from decades of foot traffic. Dust motes floated in the shafts of light from tall windows. I began exploring. Staircases twisted upward into darkness. Doors lined the walls like eyes staring at me, each slightly ajar. I stepped into one and froze. A portrait of a stern-looking man in 19th century attire. His eyes seemed too alive, followed me as I moved. My heart skipped. Then a sound, a soft thud from upstairs. I told myself it was the old house settling, but the thud repeated. Footsteps, heavy, slow, calculated. I whispered my friend's name. Nothing. I followed the sound up a narrow staircase. The air grew colder with each step, my breath fogged in the dim light. At the top, a hallway stretched beyond view, wallpaper peeling, paint cracking. At the end, a door slightly ajar. The footsteps had stopped. I approached, hand trembling on the knob. Something inside whispered, a warning or a welcome. I couldn't tell. I pushed it open. The room was empty, but a chair faced the window, facing me. I swear I saw it rock slightly on its own. And then the whisper came again. You shouldn't be here. The mansion seemed to breathe around me. Every creak, every whisper of wind through broken windows sounded deliberate, like it was speaking. I went from room to room, each one colder than the last. The air had a damp, metallic tang. I realized the floors were stained in ways that weren't just from rain or age. Something old and dark had seeped into the wood. In the library, books lay scattered. One volume, bound in cracked leather, caught my eye. Opening it, I saw not words, but names, hundreds of them, etched by hand, dating back decades. Some had a mark next to them, a symbol, a circle with a cross inside. I heard footsteps again, this time behind me. I spun. Empty hallway. The chandelier rattled. I froze. Then, a low whisper, leave while you still can. I moved toward the staircase, planning to retreat. That's when I saw her, a woman in tattered Victorian clothing, pale and translucent, standing at the top landing. She raised her hand, pointing to a door at the far end of the hall. I felt drawn, against all instinct. I walked toward it. Each step echoed like a drumbeat in my chest. Inside the room, a small child, playing on the floor, toys scattered, a music box wound open, playing a warped, slowed version of a lullaby. The child looked up, face pale, eyes hollow, and in a small, quivering voice whispered, "Don't wake her." I realized then this mansion didn't just have ghosts, it had memories, stuck in time, repeating endlessly. The woman in Victorian clothing appeared closer, moving silently, almost gliding. The temperature dropped sharply. My breath turned visible. My hands shook, but I couldn't turn away. She whispered, barely audible, "They never left, and neither should you." The music box wound down. Silence swallowed the room. I felt eyes on me, hundreds of them, from the portraits, from the walls, from the shadows themselves. I ran, stumbled down the stairs. The mansion seemed to stretch, always elongating, doors vanishing, as if it didn't want me to leave. Outside, the sun was nearly gone. The mansion looked less like a building and more like a blackened shadow stretching across the hill. I drove home without turning back, but that night in my dreams, I saw the child again, saw the hand pointing, heard the whisper, "They never left." I couldn't stay away from Blackwood Mansion, no matter how much I tried. Something about it called me back, not curiosity, not fear, but a need to witness, to understand. One night, weeks later, I returned, moonless, fog creeping along the hill like smoke. Gravel crunched under my tires. I parked at the old gate. It swung open as if expecting me. Inside, the air was thick, almost solid. I walked slowly, following the familiar path. Upstairs, the hallway stretched endlessly, shadows pooling at the corners. Portraits stared, each one seemed slightly wrong. The eyes followed. The mouths curved in silent whispers. Then I heard the child again, that same hollow voice. "Don't wake her." I followed it to the attic. The staircase groaned under my weight. A single window let in faint, gray light. In the center, a woman stood, pale, timeless, dressed in Victorian black. Her hair flowed as if underwater, her eyes locked on mine. She raised her hand. The attic floorboards trembled. A cold wind whipped around me, carrying the faint scent of decay and iron. I realized she wasn't alone. Around her, shadows twisted, forms of people frozen in fear, pain, and anger. The names from the library, from the leather-bound book, hovered faintly in the air, glowing dimly, each soul trapped, calling, waiting. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. My legs felt anchored to the floor. She spoke, voice layered, both beautiful and horrifying. "You've come back. Now you see. Now you remember." The shadows moved closer, faces blurred. Screams that weren't audible filled my mind. Every secret the mansion had collected over a century pressed on me. Then a door slammed somewhere below. I realized this mansion was alive, not in the usual sense, but aware, protective, hungry for witnesses. I dropped to my knees, whispering apologies. The woman stepped toward me. The shadows recoiled slightly. She reached out, not to harm, but to show. A memory, a family, long ago, trapped inside these walls, their greed, anger, sorrow, each preserved in these rooms. Every spirit I had seen before was part of that story, a story that refused to end. And then silence. The attic was empty, the window still gray, the air still cold, but the weight had lifted. I ran down the stairs and out. The fog clung to my coat as I drove away. I never returned, but sometimes late at night, I swear I hear music boxes whining, chairs creaking, footsteps echoing down empty hallways, and I know Blackwood Mansion is still awake, still watching. It waits for the next visitor.